Well,
Oh, and now I've gone. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and we're live. It may just be a camera. I don't know how you can fix it on here.
Okay. Let me try this. There we go. How's that?
Yay!
Yay!
So happy we've got Craig Robertson with us. Do you want to start us off with an introduction to you and your books?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm just happy to be here. Sorry for the technical difficulties and being late. I'm Craig Robertson. I have written 9 crime novels, 8 of them set in Glasgow, 1 set in the Faroe Islands. I used to be a journalist. I was a journalist for 21 years before taking up books, but I've been writing full time for 10 years now. It's the best thing I ever did. I love doing it. Apart from right now when I'm struggling to write book number 11. 10, thankfully, is finished, and 11's proving problematic at the moment. But we'll get there. My main characters in my series are DI Rachel Neri. I nearly forgot what her rank was. And police photographer turned journalist, Tony Winter.
How do you think all those years of being a journalist helped you moving into the author career?
Yeah, hugely. For one thing, I was writing every day, and that's a huge thing. For anyone who is writing will know this, and anyone who wants to, just writing helps so much. And also writing completely different things. So I would be writing a politics one day and a feature the next. I'd be meeting people from all walks of life, and that was a great thing about journalism: is no 2 days were ever the same. And I loved it. I got to travel the world, cover many, terrible real life, high profile situations, and everything. Any writer knows that everything you've done comes together in the end. Nothing's lost or wasted. Every bit of information becomes useful. And I certainly was much more able to write a decent book by the time I'd been a journalist than before it. So huge help. It's an apprenticeship, I think.
Do you ever use sort of things that you came across as a journalist in your novels?
I couldn't possibly say. Yeah, some stuff, definitely, and some people. Very little is based on any one person, but some characters are an amalgam of people. But there's also things like I cover some very heavy real life events, like the shootings at Dunblane, the Omagh bombing, the attacks on the Twin Towers in 9/11, and I interviewed people who'd lost parents or children, loved ones in that, and that kind of thing. It's proven really useful. It sounds terrible to say that that you take something good out of that from a personal point of view, but how people cope with such high-profile events that are really private, though, to them, and I think also something that you get dragged into, like a murder investigation. People are not used to dealing with the press, and suddenly they're at the worst possible time when they're most vulnerable. They get drawn into that, and it's similar. So I was able to use quite a lot of that. And just how people reacted and were able to deal with events like that. So instead of just guessing and making it up, I was able to base it on real experiences.
Nice. We've got a few hellos. So Andrew in Nottingham's watching us. Daniel McBreakneck says hi, Kaz and Craig. So does Sam. The thing that drew me to your writing first was the book set in the Faroe Islands, just because it's an unusual location.
Yeah, very unusual. Yeah. Sorry.
Why did you choose to set it there?
It was a real kind of long story, but I'll try and shortcut it slightly. I'd done a book in my Glasgow series, and I had a story where a young woman's body was washed up in the Clyde, and she would no clothing, no identification, no one knew who she was. And I plotted the book out. I knew exactly where it was going, and she would have been found to come from Estonia, and the book would have taken my protagonist to the back streets of Tallinn. That was the plan. And I was researching crime in Tallinn, and what I found was a book by Peter Robinson about a young woman's body washed up in Richmond, he writes in Yorkshire, with no identification, and she got traced back to Talon. And it was the same book. And I was completely unaware of Peter's book. It was a complete coincidence. By then, I couldn't write it. Worse than that, Peter's book was coming out the day after I found this. So I had to go and find somewhere else to set my book. That was the first plan. And I kind of basically stuck a pin around Europe and searched for, I wanted somewhere different. And I came across the Faroe Islands. I didn't know much about them, really. Started investigating, and I became fascinated with them. And it wasn't going to suit the book that I was writing. So I thought, I'll have a go at writing something completely different and set it there. I just loved the remoteness of it. And there were so many things about the people and the way they live that I wanted to go, first of all, and I wanted to write about it. So I went for 10 days for research, which at the time it was kind of all I could afford, because the Faroes is a kind of expensive place to get to and live in. I was standing on the shoreline in Tórshavn, the capital, and it had rained non-stop for a week. And I realized I spent something like £5,000 getting there and doing stuff, and wondering why I didn't set the book in the Maldives, and I could have spent the same money doing it there. But the book was so much better for being where it was. And I'm very keen to go back. And I do have a trilogy planned out. It's actually been planned out for about 3 years, but other projects just keep getting in the way. The book, the Faroes book was a bestseller in Germany, and they want more of it. And I keep saying, yeah, I'm going to write that. And I haven't got around to it yet. So there's always something else to write, unfortunately. Or gladly, I'm glad there's something else to write.
I feel like with your novels, though, location is often kind of almost a character.
I hope so. And I think it's important. I remember chairing a panel with some authors. I won't name them for good reason. And I asked them, doesn't matter, could they just take their book and move it somewhere else? And they all suggested could. And I said, well, no, that's completely the wrong answer. Because I do believe that your book should reflect where it is, because all places have something about them that's useful to write about. And Glasgow, for me, is a great place to kill people, and it just suits my books and the character of the people and the settings. All the cliches about Glasgow are largely true, and that's really helpful for me. So I've always said, yes, I could set my books in Edinburgh, but I would have to take all the jokes out. And I'm happy with where they are, and it's a quite a unique place, and I feel the book should reflect that and be able to use that. So yeah, I definitely feel it as being a character and trying to use as much as possible.
Daniel McBreakneck says that Murderabilia was the first modern UK crime book he read. And he was instantly hooked. So eternally grateful and still a huge fan. Everyone should read the series.
Well, Daniel, thank you very much. That's lovely of you to say so. I'm glad that I dragged you into crime writing, and I hope that all the other authors will give me like 1% of all the other books that I've encouraged you to read. I loved writing. I knew nothing. For those who don't know, Murderabilia is a real thing. It's collectors of items related to, excuse me, to killers, predominantly serial killers, and it's huge business. People will buy and sell anything related. And the psychology of it is what interested me. As soon as I knew it was a thing, I knew I wanted to write about it. I said, why do people want these things? And often they feel a connection to the killer. Then, of course, the next question is, why do they want to feel that connection to a killer? But I bought a bunch of stuff, and I went through the processes of buying it and researching it, and I became something of an expert of Murderabilia, which is not something I expected to be. But I bought a handwritten letter from Ian Brady, the Moors murderer. I bought a piece of the fireplace in Cielo Drive in Los Angeles, where members of the Manson family killed 5 people. And they demolished the house because people used to go around and just ghoulishly look in the window. And I've got a piece of that fireplace, and I bought a lock of Charles Manson's hair because I wanted to. My character, Rachel, had ordered this in the book, and I wanted to know what she might feel, and to actually touch something so connected to something so atrocious and something so terrible. And it is different. There's something. These objects have become imbued with, the people who owned them and who carried these things out. I remember I did an event in Berkeley in California talking about murderabilia. And I told them I had a rock, a piece of stone from the fireplace. And I kind of held it out and said, does anyone want to touch it? And the entire front row recoiled and said, no way, we want to touch it. And then I admitted that particular stone I picked from someone's garden on the way to the event. And then they were like, okay, we'll touch that. That's not a problem. So that kind of difference of, what is the difference there? And that kind of fascinated me. And it gave me a lot of stuff to work with and play with.
Yeah, because my question instantly when you said about that is, how do you know it's a lock of Charles Manson's hair? Could be like the Saints, couldn't it? It could just be a lock of anyone's hair.
It could be, but the sites to sell this stuff are they rely on their reputation, and there's a provenance that comes with it. But also, Manson was famous for selling his hair. He had a lot of it, and he used to let it grow and sell. It's relatively cheap to buy Manson's hair. It was. It'd be more expensive now. Some of it you take on trust, but the sites do have to prove it as much as they can.
I'm going to ask you some of the questions on here. So Sam wants to know, with so much experience, what's left to research that you aren't already knowledgeable about?
Oh, well, I think I'm never knowledgeable of anything until I research it. But I wrote, I think, 3 books in a row on subjects that I knew absolutely nothing about. So I knew nothing about the pharaohs and had to research. I read every book in the English language on the pharaohs, which there aren't that many of. I went there, so I had to research that from scratch. I wrote a book next on urbexing, which is urban exploring. So exploring abandoned buildings and tunnels and heights. And that's, again, it's a weird niche hobby that once I knew about it, I had to write about. So I knew nothing about that. I had to research that to the nth degree, and then murderabilia. But my new book, my next book, is out in January, and it is about a lonely deaths cleaner. So someone who specializes in cleaning houses after people have lain undiscovered for months. And so I had to research how you go about cleaning up bodily fluids and the dangers of this. So it's pretty dark, but it took me to places that I wanted to write about. Because most often, and there are so many examples of this, shockingly so, of old people who die and are left alone for maybe 5 months before their body's found. And so I wanted to write about old age and loneliness, and the lonely deaths cleaner took me to that kind of place. And so I had to do a lot of research there. And because of the lockdown, I couldn't go and do some of the stuff I wanted to do. But I might be quite glad I didn't get to do some of it. It's pretty nasty.
Caro Ramsey said, how brave was it to kill a dog in a novel? It was a pit bull and you killed it with a sword?
Well, Caro, let it go. This was my 3rd book. This was like 7 years ago. If you just told me that comment without telling me who it was, I would have known it was Caro.
She did add at the end, he will know the question is from me.
Okay, so the first thing is, it wasn't a real dog, okay? It wasn't real. I make stuff up. So does she. And yes, I cut it in half with a samurai sword. I've only ever killed 1 dog, and she'll never forgive me for it. I am not apologizing again for killing a non-real dog. So she'll just have to live with it.
There is whole websites where people can sort of find out if the animals die in a book, though.
I know, it's a weird thing, and I'm sure you've heard many authors say it, but no one's ever complained about some of the horrible ways that I've killed people in books. Never. No one's ever said, oh, that was bad, you shouldn't have done that. You kill 1 dog, and all hell lets loose. So I do think we should care more for people than dogs. Although I know Carol cares for dogs much more than she cares for people.
Oh, you're going to get more comments now from Carol.
Yeah, no doubt.
Andrew wants to know if your books are available in libraries and audio.
Yes. Actually, they're not all available in audio. I think the last 5 are from the Pharaohs on. I think the first 4 books aren't, which is something we need to do something about. Yeah, they're definitely available in libraries, which is great. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's just having people reading them. It's important. It's quite nice when you pay money for them, but it's so important that people can read them in libraries. They're such a great resource, and it drives me crazy that we're losing so many of them. So yes, if they're not on the shelves in a library, they will be able to order them in for you.
Sam says she sees Mark Billingham on your shelf. I've been admiring your bookshelf, actually.
I keep forgetting who's on this and who's not. Yes, Mark is in there. It's Mark's 60th birthday today. I don't suppose he'll be watching, but happy birthday if he is. We sent him 3 of us, Luca Vesti, Martin Waits, and myself, arranged. Mark is a huge Elvis Costello fan. And so we 3 of us arranged for Elvis to send him a birthday message, which we delivered to him at 10 o'clock this morning, which he loved. So it was a nice way for everybody to start the day because his little face was all happy.
That's great. She said he must have got some grief for the cat, but I bet he gets none for the people either.
For Mark's cat, yeah, everybody gets a bit of grief for that kind of thing. And yeah, I would rather get grief for people. We all take a bit of a chance. We know it's coming if we do anything bad to animals. But I do think that is the only thing I've done, Carol. I think that's it.
Tell us about your involvement with Bloody Scotland.
I've been involved since year 1, which, if I remember rightly, would have been 2012. So Bloody Scotland takes place in Stirling every September, and it's my hometown, home city. So in year 1, it was largely set up, but I got involved in the committee. I think only because I lived there. But that was only, I sort of said I would help out, and I've been there ever since. And now I helped organize a program and invite authors, and I on a lot of panels and stage things, and it's great fun. It's a lot of work, and obviously the last couple of years have been really difficult. So last year we were completely online. This year we're going to be, all being well, we will be back live, but we're also putting everything out digitally. Actually, this is probably a secret, so if anybody's watching, don't tell anyone or you'll get me into trouble.
No, it's all right. Gordon said the same thing last night.
Oh, really? Good.
Yeah, you're fine.
Good. The plan is that everyone who watched last year, and the great thing about being digital was that we were watched around the world, and I think 27 countries people were watching from, and that was great to be able to take all these authors and give them that kind of platform. But so many people said that we wanted it online again this year, and for a lot of people it's because maybe they were disabled or they couldn't travel for financial reasons or childcare. And it is important that they're able to watch as well. So the plan is, even though events are live, we will broadcast digitally. It's just that there's financial implications at the moment. It's an expensive business. So we're doing that. But over the years, I've helped do some of our sort of more fun things. We have a Crime Writers football match, Scotland against England, which we've had every year since 2014. So I organised that and play. I'm the Scottish goalkeeper. I've had some good days and some bad days, but it's always fun. I host Crime at the Coup. So there's my local pub, and we take crime writers in. They're a talented bunch, not me, but a lot of them are really good. Anyone who's seen the Fun-Loving Crime Writers will know, they can sing and perform, and it's a little traditional pub, and we cram it with about 100 people, and the authors go up and do turns, and it's a really good atmosphere. So I'm still involved in that. It takes up a lot of time, but it's fun.
Do you have a favourite panel that you've done?
Goodness, I've done a lot. Actually, I shouldn't say this because I've just remembered Carol was on it. We did a panel in BoucherCon in the US I think it might have been Raleigh in North Carolina, but it could have been somewhere entirely different in the US. And we had a Scottish panel at 8:30 in the morning. Fine for Carol, but far too early for me. And it was Carol, James Oswald, Katrina McPherson, and myself. And we thought, well, no one's going to turn up at 8:30 in the morning. And there was about 400 people in the room. And it was great. I'm not sure they always understood what we were saying, because we were having a few jokes amongst ourselves. And Carol almost certainly brought up the thing about the dog. But yeah, that was the first one that comes to mind. That was a lot of fun.
So I've got another set of questions to ask you, and you're going to have to guess who has asked.
No, okay.
Because they just come up as Facebook user, and we'll see if you're right. It says, when you wrote Random over a decade ago, did you expect to still be writing books with Rachel Neri years later?
I'm trying to guess who it is, so I'll answer the question. And
you'll guess who it is by the second question. Just
okay. All right. No, I didn't at all. Because Random was, and sort of still is, a standalone, which for those who haven't read it, please read it. It's told from the point of view of a serial killer, but there is a police officer in it. Now, originally I was going to write it from Rachel Neri's point of view, and I kind of changed it and decided to write it from the killer's point of view, kept her in it. And when that book was done and bought, I needed characters for my next book, and I liked Rachel. And she was also one of the few people still alive at the end of that book. So I wanted to do more with her. I certainly didn't think I'd be writing 10 years on. But I've liked her a lot. And also, she's not supposed to have been the lead character. Tony Winter was supposed to be my lead character, and Rachel's kind of taken over. She's just, book by book, had more prominence until she's now running the show completely. So I'm glad I kept writing about her. But no, it was a surprise to me.
And here's the one that's going to give it away, I think. Man. Do you get annoyed by Scousers who bang on about loving your debut novel for 10 years?
Yes, look, I do, because I've written books since then, you know. I'm glad he loves my debut novel. That was good, because I met Luca before he was published, which is kind of weird looking back on it. But I'm glad he loves that book. He obviously doesn't love the rest of them enough. That would be the thing. But he is my favourite Scouser, so that's okay.
We had a classic panel with Luca where he dropped things on his head mid-interview.
He dropped intentionally?
Well, I think he was trying to get stuff off his shelf, and he just dropped sort of some of the things from the shelves onto his head.
I often think he's had things dropped in his head on a regular basis. It would explain a lot.
Poor Luca.
Yeah, well, it's okay. He can take it.
So you kind of Funko Pops. That was it. That was what dropped on his head.
K-pop.
Funko Pops. You know the weird little. No.
No.
So you kind of one half of a crime writing power couple as well.
Well, the books do. Well, actually, no, that side. Everything's back to front. That side, I think there's two of them there. Are my wife's books, Alexandra Sokolov. We met at a crime writing festival in Colorado Springs in 2013. And Alex moved to Scotland from California, which some people would think is a bit crazy. But yeah, it's really good. Being married to another writer works because they kind of get it. You know, writing books is not a proper job. It's not like other things, and it's the way you use your time is quite different, especially mine. I mean, I can do seemingly no work all day, even though I know I'm thinking about the book, and then do 5 hours a night till the small hours, where she'll get up and work at 8 o'clock in the morning. So we make it work, but we can't work in the same room. That's the one thing that you can hear the other person thinking, and it's just annoying. So, but no, yeah, I like it.
This might answer my question, which was, would you write a novel with her?
No. It would be a terrible idea, and it would be my fault the problems, because Alex, she used to be a screenwriter in Hollywood, so she is used to collaborating, and I'm not at all. So I would be the one that would be awkward. I would argue over every sentence or half a sentence. That would be problematic. And we're married, we live together 24 hours a day because we both work from home. So to take the risk of messing that up by writing a book would be just no, never. I know that for Chris and Marissa Brookmeyer, it works for them, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't work for me. Mainly because Chris is just much better at doing that than I know I would be.
Fair enough. There's quite a conversation going on here about the things that dropped on Luca. He says they attacked him mid-interview.
I'm not surprised. I've done so many things in Luca's workroom on Zoom, and yeah, there's always things ready to fall off that shelf. He's too much up there, and he doesn't know which way to stack his books. If you've seen them, they're all stacked on top of each other instead of properly like that. Although I do believe he's changed them now. Yeah,
Sam's just said it happens more than you think because she pulled a load of books on her head in mid-interview as well.
My most regular thing mid-interview is getting attacked by the cat. So I think he's sleeping by the window, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's up here. He hears me talking. He wants to sit in my lap. So if that happens, just ignore it.
Oh, it's fine. We quite like sort of pet visitors on these.
Yeah, well, I don't have any choice but to deal with it. So if it happens, it happens.
Daniel McBreakneck, let me just scroll back up and see what he asked. He wanted to know what your favourite new or recent books were that you've read.
Oh, goodness. Oh, I read so little now, so this question always embarrasses me. Everybody that's watching has read many more books than I have of late. What did I read? The last time we've set up this, not meant to be advertising, Bloody Scotland Book Club. And it's been great fun. So we do 3 books a month, and one of our authors on the board, either myself, Abir Mukherjee, Lynn Anderson, or Gordon Brown, hosts each month. So when I did mine last month, 3 months ago, all those books were great. I'm trying to remember what the heck they were. If anyone's watching, can they give me a clue? Because some of you must have watched that. Yeah, those books that I can't remember. I am terrible for reading these days. When I was younger, I read voraciously. I mean, like 4 books a week, 5 books a week. And now it's like 4 books a year. So don't all boo me for not reading, but that's the truth of it. Daniel, I will try and remember what I read and liked.
What inspired you to set up the book club?
It actually came from someone who was watching last year's digital. One of the great things about being digital last year was we had a chat section, and everyone who watched, there were so many people who watched every event, and they got to know each other on the chat, much as is happening right now. And one of them, and I've asked to try and find out who it was, who'd said, wouldn't it be a great idea to have a Bloody Scotland book club? And by chance, I saw the comment and I wrote it down and think, yes, it would be a great idea to do that. And we've really enjoyed it. It's just anything that encourages reading, obviously, is great. And anything that encourages for us awareness of Bloody Scotland and participation in it. And with so many people still, working from home or isolated to some extent, any kind of community thing based around reading, like everything we're doing right now, can only be a good thing. It just helps people out so much. So we haven't yet done any of our own books from the board. We felt that's a bit much, but we're trying to spread the love a little bit.
I think you could sneak some of your own in as well.
My PC needs to be restarted. Let's really hope that's not going to happen. Really hope that. So oh my goodness, let's hope not. Everybody cross their fingers.
Sam says she mainly waves away her children during interviews and drinks loudly when she thinks she's being quiet.
Oh, sorry, I missed it because I was concentrating that. Sorry, say that again.
Sam says she mainly waves her children away during interviews and drinks loudly when she thinks she's being quiet. I pour mine before we start.
Yeah, I usually I try to keep the cat out. I used to close the door on the cat. He's the only one who would interrupt. But then he starts throwing himself at the door to get in, and that's more of a problem than him walking around. So I just let him go.
And then Sam's asked her favourite question, which was, what was the last scene that you wrote? No spoilers.
The last scene? Well, I'm so struggling with this new book. So it would have been a scene in there. I'm trying to set up a scene with this unknown killer, and he's trawling for victims in Glasgow at night. And it's one of the scenes, it's written completely from his point of view, and you have to put yourself in his shoes and imagine this kind of twisted, tortured mind, which is easy for me, as he drives along and tries to pick people out. And it's I haven't got it right yet. I know I haven't got it right yet. So I'm still working away at that, but it's getting closer. I'm getting I think if I can get this one right, then the book will kick off, or kick on from there. So that is the one that's torturing me at the moment.
And Sam also wants to know, other than writing, what's the best part of being an author?
Not writing. The best part of being an author is having my time to do with as I please, being able to take a day off anytime I feel like it and do things. So yesterday, our little nephews, their mum needed the day to do some university work. And she said, "Can I take the boys yesterday?" And for half a second, I thought, well, I should be writing. And then that was easy. He said, "No, I'll take the boys out in the sun and do no work." And we had a great day. So that, I think, is my favorite thing. It's just being able to manage my own time, because I can catch up. I can catch up working at night or some other time. Hopefully my editor's not watching. But being able to do that, and those are, it sounds very cliche, but they're moments you'll never get back. Going and spending that time with them. They're 8, 5, and 3, and it's just pretty magical. So I love being able to have that freedom.
Sounds amazing.
It is. It's great, and the eldest, the 8-year-old, is desperate to read my books, and I have to keep them away from him just for a bit longer yet. I made the mistake at one point of reading a scene to him. I don't know what I was thinking. And now he asked me about the guy being stabbed in the eye with a screwdriver all the time. And his mum's not very pleased with me. And
maybe you shouldn't have picked that scene.
Yeah, I don't know why I opened the book. The book was called Random, but I opened the book at random. And yeah, that thing where you suddenly realize you've gone completely doing something you shouldn't have done. And it was too late.
So this has come up on some of our other sort of interviews we've done. Do you have any ideas why Scotland produces so many good crime authors?
It's strange. It's strange because there is so many of us, and there's more all the time. First of all, Val McDermott has a solution to this. She believes that we should have a reality TV show where they put all the Scottish writers, crime writers, on an island, and every day one of them gets killed until we're back down to a manageable number. And I can see the sense in that. But I think there's something in the Scottish character. Where it's historically we're storytellers, but we have quite a dark character with and lots of black humor and self-deprecating humor, and that lends itself to crime writing, I think. But also, we live in times that are good to write about from a crime writing point of view, and there's so much material. There's too many of us in Glasgow now. I think some of them have to go. I think we have to lose about 4 or 5. I would start with Carol, but we'll see. Just try and get the numbers down a little bit. But there's more of us every year. And I think more seriously, people like Willie McIlvanney and Ian Rankin and Val opened so many doors and made other writers believe that they could do it, and encourage publishers to take more on, knowing there was a market for it. So we owe a huge debt to those 3 in particular. And even if we don't live up to their standards, we can still have a good go at it. And they've helped so much.
Good answer.
Yeah, it's true.
And one of my favourite author chat questions, because I'm a massive nerd, is would you make a graphic novel of one of your books?
Would I? I'm not sure I'd have the talent to, but I'd be happy to. Graphic, it's not something I've ever really dealt in. I know Denise has done a few, and she's loved doing it. So what I would like is Denise to make a graphic novel of my books. That would be ideal. You don't have to draw the pictures yourself, do you? No. Well, that's good, because I can't draw a line, never mind anything else. But yeah, I do like the idea of it. But my favorite thing about writing is playing with words. Prose is, I really get into it, and it sounds very nerdy for me this time, but the joy of creating a sentence and a paragraph that works makes me happy. So I guess you'd lose some of that in a graphic novel where the word count is demolished. So it's a long way of saying no. I don't think I would, now that I think about it. I think I'd rather keep doing it the way I'm doing it.
Fair enough. I'm guessing this may be Caro. Because she says Douglas Skelton has moved to Inverness from Glasgow. Yeah,
but not before time. Not before time. I wasn't even counting Douglas, so that's good. That's one out of the way. Douglas has written some fantastic books up in Inverness. I think number 2 out and third one's on its way, if I've got that right. And he actually, now that I remember, Douglas blames me. He said that I encouraged him to go and write in the Highlands. And I'd kind of forgotten giving him that piece of advice, but he says that's the case. Because for one thing, it's a stunning place to write books, and it appeals to the American audiences for one thing. So I think it's a smart move, and he's done it very well. And he's very good at describing place, so that's going to work for him.
Apparently, that's on the way. It was Patricia Forsyth. Apparently, I misattributed it. She also said she met you.
Okay.
Can't remember where she said. Curry 2019. Does that make sense?
Curry?
Yeah. Currie.
Oh, Curry. Yeah. Yeah, I did a library event in Curry. That was, I really enjoyed that. That was a good night. It was a wet Wednesday night in Curry, and lots of people came out and they had lots of questions. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. That was a great night. So it was good fun. Again, it was a community-based thing, and in a relatively small place, and lots of people come out, and it's a good thing to do. We miss it. I can't tell you how much writers miss getting out and actually meeting people. I mean, this is great, and it's a really good substitute, but to actually meet people face to face and to hear them interact with you in the room, we miss that like crazy. So Harrogate later this month is going to be, I think for most of us, the first live event in 2 years. So I cannot wait.
I suspect it's going to get messy.
It might get messy. I hope it doesn't get too messy. And also we're also crossing our fingers a little bit just in case restrictions come back in. But I don't think they will. And I know that the Harrogate Festival is taking every precaution to look after the authors and the readers. And it's going to be great. It's going to be great to sit down and have a beer with writers and with readers again and be on the lawn at Harrogate. It's going to be great fun. Cannot wait.
So you're going to be there?
Yes, I'm on a panel on the Saturday morning. Funnily enough, Luca Vesti, CJ Tudor, and Liz Nugent, and we're going to talk about villains. I think the title is the Napoleons of Crime, and when we all love bad guys, evil protagonists, and we've all written about quite a few of them. So that should be good fun. 10:30 is a bit early for me, but I will make sure I'm there and I'm fully fit in time for that.
Excellent. So Andrew's asked, if you were walking past a derelict building, would you be able to form an idea to put in one of your novels?
Yeah, definitely. Particularly for urbex, that was one of the things that triggered it for me. I read an article about people who explored abandoned buildings, and immediately I thought, I want to write about this, because what they do is it's illegal, but it's only a little bit illegal. It's common trespass. So they don't tend to get arrested, but they go there with no one knowing that they're in these abandoned buildings. They want to make sure the police don't know about it. They don't tell their families, because quite often they're like, oh, it's dangerous. So my thinking is, if they're in a place like that and something terrible happens to them, no one's going to know, and they've got no one to call out for. And many cities have a lot of these buildings. Sometimes they're only abandoned for a short time, and then they're turned into a pub, or a bank or something. But while they're abandoned, people explore them, and they're dark and creepy. And I enlisted the services of an urbexer, a guy called Ben Cooper, who's the leading urbexer probably in Scotland, and he thankfully, excuse me, was able to describe and tell me about places that I might have been too scared to go on my own. The book starts, there's a barn called the Mullen Diner that runs underneath Glasgow, and it was the river, the stream that Glasgow was built on, but they eventually built over the top of it. But it's still there, and you can go in and walk the length of it. But towards the end, it's no more than about 1.5 feet tall, because the roof gets lower and lower. And that's too low for me. I wouldn't fancy that at all. But Ben walked the length of it until he could get no further, and he photographed every inch of it on the way. So I was able to use that, and there's a body at the end of the tunnel. So it was all fun to play with, and there's so many places that I was able to use. So walking past a derelict building, that's where my mind still goes. Absolutely. There's always good places to bury bodies.
So did you go urban exploring?
I didn't, or not in real terms. I went. There's a line from the old Botanics station in Glasgow near the Botanic Gardens. There's a line there, and so I did that. That is like a beginner route for urbexers. So I did that, and it was enough to get a sense of the thrill of it, and I could absolutely see why people do it. But guys like Ben, he climbed onto the roof of Glasgow University. And it's no, sure, I need to get this in shot. So the ledge is only so wide, and he's 200 feet up and straight down into a concrete quadrangle. That's not for me. That's not for me. And he climbed the Science Tower in Glasgow. Very illegal and very, very dangerous. So I was glad that he did that, and therefore I didn't have to.
Great. Have you got, because you've done so many things with festivals and hosting panels and things, have you got like a weirdest question you've ever been asked?
Oh, have I got weirdest question? I did a panel in somewhere in the US at BouchCon, and we did a panel about duos. So I had Winter and Airy. I remember Thomas Enger was in the panel, and some American writers, including a lady who wrote a book about dogs, police dogs, but accepted that her dog is a character and thinks and talks in the book. And she was telling the story about how the dog knew who the killer was and was trying to tell its master, right? And I'm sitting trying to keep a straight face. And then I was asked, would I ever write about a talking dog? And that was quite firmly a no. And before Carol starts, I'm not going to kill the dog. I just wouldn't want to write about a talking dog. It's not my thing, really. So, no.
If there was a talking dog, though, would it also suffer the fate with samurai sword?
Well, if there was a talking dog, I might need to cut his tongue out. That might need to be. It would maybe need to be done. But no, I am not going to harm any more dogs, Carol. It's fine. It's fine. I've learned my lesson. But I've done panels all over, and you never know what's coming up. You'll always get some questions that you've had often, and actually that's quite good, because you know you've got answers for those. But there's always something that comes completely out of the blue. I remember getting very odd questions at a panel in Italy. First of all, I went on after a German couple who wrote books together, and they were in translation. And this threw me, because they would ask a question in Italian. It was then translated into English and then to German. And the German author would talk for 5 minutes, and then the translator would say one line, and they'd all nod. And I'd be, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? So they had a whole bunch of weird questions, none of which I can remember, unfortunately. But that was a slightly weird experience.
I'm a teacher, so I'm used to odd questions.
I'm sure. I had a whole day of that yesterday with a nephew, so I'm well used to very odd questions from them.
Yeah, you get some great ones. Sam has asked, is it a lot of fun to put yourself in the role of a bad guy when writing?
Yeah, absolutely, it is. I say that my first book, the one that the Scouser likes, it was told completely from the point of view of the killer. And I think at that time, if it had been done much at all, it was pretty rare. So it was fun, but it could be difficult at times because I would be writing chapters where he's full of rage, and murderous rage. And then I have to like close it and go to bed. And then you have to be able to step out of the shoes. You have to compartmentalize is the thing that you have to do. You have to be deep enough in the bad guy that you can understand his thinking and feel some of the rage, and then not take it home with you. Just be able to shut it down again. But I've written quite a lot of bad guys. My last book, Watch Him Die, there's a whole lot of sections from the killer in that as well. It's half set in Glasgow and half set in LA. So where because of Alex, my wife, we now spend a lot of time pre-COVID, we spent about 3 months there. We haven't been anywhere since. So there's a lot from his point of view, and he's a terrible, terrible character. But yeah, it's fun. You're able to tap into the worst thing that you have inside you that you could be. And I do think we've all got potential that we can. What we do, I hope you as well, is we don't tap into that stuff. We know to keep it down. And I think we can understand enough to write about it. I certainly can, whether that's good or bad.
So how do you compartmentalize that?
I think partly it goes back again to being a journalist, because I would be doing absolutely awful things, or not that I was doing awful things, let me rephrase that, covering awful things. I remember going to Oma after the Oma bombings and spent 4 days interviewing people who'd lost parents and children. And it was, it's hard going. It's always much tougher for them than it is for you, but it is still quite traumatic. And what you have to learn to do is when you come home, put that away, because that's no fun for anybody around you. If your head is still full of that. So it's requires skill just to learn to. You have to feel it enough to be able to write about it. You have to empathize and open yourself up that you can feel this and deal with this terrible stuff, and then you have to close it down again. It's like closing the laptop. You have to be able to do that. And so I spent 20 years doing that. So that's where I learned how to do it.
Do you have kind of like a routine for doing that?
No, not really. It's coming back and speaking to the people you love and knowing that they don't really want to hear about this. It's not that they're not interested in what you're doing, but some of it is too much. If I went to the US to interview a family whose son died in the first plane. They went into the Twin Towers. And I set up the first night, we were going to do an interview in the morning. I stayed at their house and we ended up talking over their kitchen table till 3 o'clock in the morning, and all the stuff came out of their feelings that day when they heard the news. And they opened up completely, and all three of us are crying over the kitchen table. But it's not an easy thing for anyone to go through to talk about it. Obviously, it's not a very difficult thing to deal with. And you can't allow it to get to you too much, but you have to allow it to get to you enough that you understand where they're coming from. And you'd learn that not everyone wants to know too much about that. They'd rather be at arm's length from it. So you deal with it. You shut it down, or you let it destroy you, and you cannot do that.
Good advice.
It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy to do, but it helps.
So I'm going to try and lighten the mood a bit. So, Sam.
Yeah, please do. Sorry for dragging it down.
It's all right. Sam said if you're switching off and looking for a film to watch that's easy because you've seen it so much, what are you watching?
Something easy. Oh. What I'm going to watch is, there's a Scottish movie called That Sinking Feeling, which was made in the, goodness me, early 80s, about 1980, I think. I might be wrong with that. And it's been so hard to get hold of it. It's a Bill Forsyth movie. It was his first movie before he did Gregory's Girl or Local Hero. And it's fantastic. It's really raw, and they used actors from local drama college. And actually, most people watching probably wouldn't understand a single word of it, because the accents might be a bit impenetrable. But if you can get past that, it's absolutely hilarious. It's just appeared on BBC iPlayer, so that's my next watch. It's about a group of broke kids in the early 80s who steal a warehouse full of sinks. Dumbest heist ever, but it's a classic.
Sounds good. So we're getting close to 8. Do you want to finish us off with a sort of a reminder about yourself?
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask me to finish off with a song, and that would have been a disaster.
We can do that too if you want.
No, you really don't want to hear that. A reminder about myself. I'm Craig Robertson. My latest book, Watch Him Die, came out last summer. My new book is called The Undiscovered Deaths of Grace McGill. It's out in January, which still seems like an age away to me, and I can't wait for it to come out. If you get the chance to read any of them, I'd be happy for you to go and do that. Take a look at his advice and read the first one if you like, but hopefully there's something interesting in all of them.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight. It's been fantastic chatting to you.
No, it's great. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on.
I'm glad your computer held out.
Me too. That message freaked me out. So that wasn't good at all.
So yeah, thanks again.